Hello, this is the Rotary algorithm on the disting mk4. This is a Rotary speaker simulation kind of effect, which I will demonstrate to you with an organ sound coming from my general CV, driven by the relay, clocked by the FH2. So we'll start with the completely dry sound. Now the wet-dry mix is on parameter 0, it's also on a CV, but I'll just fade it up manually for now. So there we go, mix, turn it off again. Sure, I can do it at the CV. I'll just get a CV from the Tirana here. There we go. So obviously you can sequence that or send an LFO in or whatever you want. But for now, let's just dial it up to maximum. So mono input, stereo audio output. Y is mixed, as I said, Z is speed. So in the central position, it's this kind of slow effect. If I turn it up, it goes fast. Back to slow. And if you turn it counterclockwise, it eventually goes down to stop. I'll put that back in the middle. Obviously, because if it's CV, you can give that a trigger or an LFO or a gate. I'm going to take another clock from my FH2, which means it's going to change speed as it clocks through the pattern. Parameter 2 is the slew rate for that. So at the moment it's changing quite quickly. If I wind up the slew, it will change much more slowly. Let me slow down this pan. So you can see the speed is changing. This is just a gate, it's going up or down, but the speed is changing slowly because of that slew. Parameter 1 was the depth, which I skipped over. That's a kind of quite a natural amount of depth, I would say. You can crank that up to really quite high values. Parameter 3 is crossover. At the moment, the whole audio signal is going through the rotary effect, which gives you a pitch modulation and the stereo modulation as well. If I turn on the crossover, it's going to send some of the bass signal through a different circuit. So the bass isn't going to get thrown around in stereo and pitch modulated, but it will be potentially amplitude modulated, which it's not at the moment. So if I crank that up, and indeed if I just turn this down, so we've actually got a bit more bass. So that's no crossover, everything's getting thrown. Crossover, the bass is now steady, and then if I turn up the bass amplitude modulation, in fact, let's just stick on a single chord so we can maybe hear it a bit more easily. So the bass modulation is at a slightly slower frequency than the treble modulation. So they kind of go out of phase. Let's slow that. Let's take that out. So it's at a single speed. Let's wind the crossover back down. So no crossover, no separate bass. Separate bass with bass modulation. Oops. And then wind the bass modulation off. So now our bass is unmodulated, but the treble is still getting modulated. So there we go. That's it in a nutshell, really, the Rotary algorithm on the disting mk4.